Well, the French are marching to war here on my tabletop. Down in front of us, I have my first full brigade of French Napoleonic 6mm. So it's actually not quite complete. I'm still working on one battalion, one full battalion of light infantry, which will accompany these line battalions here. But for the most part, it's complete. And we can go ahead and take a look at what it consists of. They are, like I said, 6mm Bacchus, and we have 4 line battalions here lined up and ready for battle. And down in front, we have the Voltigeurs out in skirmish formation, and we have one base of 12-pounder guns over on the right side here. I think you can see that off in the side, but I also have Napoleon that I'm working on, and this is not going to be the Brigadier General, obviously, for this brigade, but I just threw him on there. I figured you might be interested in seeing him. I don't know how good that focus is coming out on him, but I think he looks pretty good there, the ogre, the little corporal, depending on what side you're more biased towards. But these guys are based pretty much for black powder. That's where I'll be using them for. And I play a lot of black powder in the 15mm scale, mainly American Civil War and American War of Independence. And I really enjoy it in those scales. However, I felt that for Napoleonics, I would go for a further mass effect look and drop down to the 6mm size, but still use pretty much the same size basing that I was for 15mm. So if you've watched any of my other videos on my 15mm projects, the Civil War or the AWI, you'll notice that I use 40mm wide by 20mm deep bases, and there's 6 of them to a regiment. So basically, one regiment of those would be about the size of 2 of these battalions put together, and that's about how big they were in terms of footprint, not in terms of model count, obviously. So I chose to do these guys on the same size basis, 40mm wide by 20mm deep, and I think it gives it a very good mass effect appearance to it, and that's exactly what I was going for in terms of the 6mm scale with Napoleonics. This is also my first dive into Napoleonics, and I'm working on 3 different Napoleonic projects all at one time. I have my 6mm black powder project, which is down in front of us. I also have a 6mm Blucher project, which is going on a completely different basing system. And I also have an 18mm AB/Old Glory project that I'm working on for sharp practice as well as songs of drums and shakos. So I have previously played some 15mm Napoleonic skirmish songs of drums and shakos with 15mm Black Cat miniatures, and I like those miniatures. But I see everybody touting and bragging about their AB figures all the time, their Old Glory, and their selection is just so wide that I've decided to go ahead and branch out into 18mm since those games, Sharp Practice and Songs of Drums and Shakos, they don't really require such a large investment in miniatures anyway. So I figured it'd be a nice side project to kind of have whenever I get sick of painting my 6mm Napoleonics and Ancients and the 15mm ACW AWI. And I'm going to do some updates on those here shortly, hopefully get them out. I got the next 3 weeks off work, so I'm going to have plenty of time to paint and also give some updates on what I have painted over this last couple months since I've put up my last videos. And I think you guys might be pleased with some of that I put up. I know I am. I'm not the best painter, but I am enjoying myself doing this, and I'm getting better every time my brush touches one of these miniatures. So anyway, back to down what we have in front of us. 6mm Napoleonics, and these are by Bacchus, like I said before. And the basing system, one of the reasons I chose to do this basing system with the 40mm wide is because, and each of these bases are 40mm wide, so each battalion is going to be 120mm wide. And the reason I chose to do that is because I can use these for a couple different games here. I can use them for black powder, and I can't remember the other two rules that I haven't picked up yet that I was planning on here. But also, one game that I do play a lot is DBA, De Bellis Antiquitatis. So there is a version called DBA HX, which is for the black powder era. And it has a wide time frame in that era, but it allows you to game DBA with Napoleonics, AWI, 7-Year War, a whole bunch of different things like that. And in order to do that, you need to, basically adhere to the DBA basing standards, which for the smaller figures is going to be 40 millimeters wide um, for your infantry, and your cavalry will be 40 millimeters wide by 30 millimeters deep, so they'll be a little bit bigger stands. But if you notice my artillery here, it's on a 40 by 40 base, which is the basing standard for DBA for all artillery units. So, everything that I'm doing here for black powder is also easily interchangeable with DBA HX, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with that game. So down in front of us, I kind of already did introduce you the composition of this brigade here. It's the 4 line infantry units, and soon to follow will be 1 light battalion. It has 1 stand of 12-pounder artilleries, which may or may not accompany this brigade, depending on whatever battle or scenario I may be playing. And also the light infantry out ahead skirmishing the Voltigeurs, which these are not a battalion themselves. These are stands that will accompany these battalions and represent different formations that they may be taking. So if we take a close look at one of these stands here, it might be better if I dismount the camera, or at least bring it down closer so I can show you instead of trying to get the camera to focus by holding something in front here. Let's see, maybe I can zoom in. Yeah, I can zoom in. So you can see on the left flank of each of these battalions, which would be our right side, but on the battalion's left flank, you can see the light companies over on the edge of each battalion, and they have the green and yellow plumes on them. And then you have the line companies all throughout the middle of the battalion. And on each right flank of each battalion, you can see on the far left there of this stand, you can see the grenadier companies are in line there. So each of these battalions has their light infantry companies as well as their grenadier companies on their respective flanks there. And so that is what one of my line battalion looks like. Let me see if I can bring one out here to show you up close. So there we go, from our left into the center. You can see the command strip there. Over to the right, and that is the light companies. So that is one battalion. Now, I haven't decided how I'm going to do this with the skirmishers, because in the rule book, when you deploy into a mixed formation with a unit, basically what it tells you to do is remove 1/3 of the battalion and deploy them as skirmishers. But 1/3 would be one of these stands, and obviously I would take the stand away that has the light company over here, and you would take this stand away and deploy 1 stand of the Voltigeurs out in front of them, and then that would signify that they're in skirmish formation. However, I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. I haven't decided, and I may try it both ways, of course, but I may just signify it out with 1 or maybe even 2 stands of skirmishers, and that would signify that battalion has some, mixed formation skirmishers out in front, skirmishing at any given time. The reason for this is I have read in several sources that the rear lines of the formation would deploy out ahead for skirmishing. I'm not sure exactly what years those tactics consisted of, but I like the look of it this way. I haven't decided yet. So other formations that can be represented in this, of course, would be your attack column. Let me move these skirmishers out of the way here. So your attack column would be signified as this formation here. And obviously I can't break them down any thinner for a marching column here. But I would probably just use a small token, a small stone or gem. I have plenty of those behind it to signify that it is in marching status. We'll see. Another thing that I have done here, let me bring them down here, is I have done a couple stands of line infantry on 20 millimeter by 20 millimeter. And this is so I can use these to increase the size of a battalion to make it a large size battalion. And you can see here sometimes in the scenario books in the black powder campaign books or whatever you want to call them, like the Albion Triumphant or the Clash of Eagles books, it will say in orders of battle that you need a large size battalion, and having those 20 millimeter stands in there in between increase the size of it, increase the width of the battalion, and create it, make it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of distracted here trying to keep the camera focused and stable. Trying my best, guys. Sorry. But anyway, those 20 millimeter stands will increase the width of that battalion to make it a large size battalion and all the benefits that come along with that. And also, if you just take away these two stands and put on one command stand along with two of those 20 millimeter battalions or 20 millimeter stands, you have a small size battalion as in comparison to a regular or a large battalion. So that's a couple things that you can use those 20 millimeters for. Also, another thing I'm going to be using these for is to signify when a battalion goes into square formation. So we can put them just like that, and then we have square formations here. And yes, I know it's an awful lot of work to be doing, but you know, I'm just in love with the mass effect of the 6mm, and I really want to make this work. And I have, you know, the resources and the time to get it done. The time being, you know, we'll get it done sometime in the next couple of years. I'm only done with the 1st French Brigade, and I plan on doing British, Portuguese, Spanish, and Prussians and Austrians, and yeah, and Russians. So, you know, we'll get there eventually. It may take a couple of years or whatever, but eventually here pretty soon, hopefully in the next 6 months, I'll be gaming at least small size battles with my 6mm Napoleonics. So let me go ahead and zoom back out here and get my camera back down. Let's see. There's a good place. I'm trying not to crush my guys here that I had down below at my 20 millimeter stands. So I'll get those guys back out of the way. So that is my 6mm black powder project that I'm in the middle of. It's looking pretty good. I don't know if I gave you guys a close-up of the guns there, but like I said, there's some 12-pound foot artillery right there. And now we can take a look at my 6mm blue shirt project. Let me see if I can get this camera steady here. So here is a brigade of French line infantry here. And you can see they have their late war shakos and the late war flags on their poles there. But this is what each base for Blucher will look like. And down in front, I still got them coming from Bacchus. Down here, I'm going to have some light infantry skirmishing out in front. We'll put a brigadier general in the middle stand there, and then we'll go ahead and base up these MDF bases. Were very cheap, actually. I got a pack of 40 of them for like 13 or 14 bucks online. I can't remember. I think it was called Lasercraft MDF bases. I'm very happy with them actually. They're thick. They don't warp at all. They're perfectly flat upon arrival. These are some of the best bases I've gotten in terms of value and money spent. So that is one brigade of French late war line infantry that I'm doing. And for any of you who play Blucher, know that the basing is done by the brigades. So, there's anywhere from, on this stand, it's representing anywhere from 4 to 6, 7, or 8 battalions on this one base here. So, and you can attach artillery to it. I'm not going to be gluing separate artillery pieces on here. What I'm going to do, if a battalion has an attached battery of artillery, then I will just put this along the side there, something like that, to represent that it has an attached battery to it. So that is that. I also have another brigade that I'm working on here. It just needs the 2 command strips out front here that I'm working on. I have the flags there, then it'll be caught up just like the other one that I just showed you. I do have a lot of work that I got going on for Blucher here. Here's a couple stands of my old guard, which will have 2 full brigades of old guard, and then I'll have 4 full brigades of middle guard. And on their bases, when I do base them up, they will have the young guard out in front skirmishing in front of their line and screening for them. So I think those are coming along pretty good, and they have their great coats on. As you can see, hopefully, kind of can't get those to focus here, but I like them. Need to put the red dots on the top of their bear skins there and get them finished up. They still need their detail and stuff. I got their plates painted up on the front of their bear skins, and they're looking pretty good. But these guys, the old guard, will be based in different formation. There will be 3 formations along the middle here instead of 4 in a block formation. But I plan on, like you can see with the French, they are 3 strips deep on each separate formation here. And that's to signify that, the French usually were attacking an attack column. When I do the British on these bases, the British will be in 2 deep formations, but they will be in wider lines to signify that, they usually fought in firing line formation. And so I think once it's all said and done, these brigades for Blucher are going to look fantastic on the table. And I'm very excited to play around with them. So anyway, I just wanted to show you guys some of my 6mm Napoleonics that I had going on. I'm very happy with these guys over here for black powder, and I can't wait to start dropping some cotton balls in front of them and creating some good battle scenes. Oh, and the mat that I'm sitting on here is by Cigar Box Battle Mats, and it is the new Grasslands, the Grasslands 2 version, and it is the plush version. So you can see it kind of looks like it has a little bit of teddy bear fur on it or whatever. But I'm very satisfied with those Cigar Box Battle Mats. I wish I would have jumped to those a long time ago instead of my recent table accessories that are very hard to store, bulky, expensive, and messy as well. So yeah, if you're looking for good scenery or good table mat to use, I would highly recommend with all my heart to check out Cigar Box Battle Mats. They are definitely worth it. So anyway, guys, thanks for checking it out, and I'm going to be posting a couple more videos for my updates here, painting updates here pretty soon. So anyway, guys, stay safe. I'll see you next time.